Okay, here we go. This is our new 572 XP, which we've run one time, really liked. But I've got a little alert here for you Husqvarna fans. We've been using Husqvarna since 1995, and one of the major selling points on the Husqvarna is the previous models were all drilled in the end of the crankshaft. They're drilled in the end of the crankshaft, and the crankshaft then had a port in the side, so you can shoot a little grease in there and grease that bearing right there. Am I seeing that? It's so bright out here I can't see my camera. There we go. There we go. It would you grease that from the end of the crankshaft, and we really like that feature. Anyway, this 572 does not do that. So what you have to do is pop an E-clip. Now where'd that darn E-clip go? There's an E-clip and a washer. You've got to pop off of there. There it is. So what this does, this goes, the clutch goes on there. You've got a washer and your sprocket and an E-clip, and you've got to pop those off to get to that bearing. So grab a little bit of grease, grease that bearing. Boy, it's so bright out here I can't see my viewfinder. There we go. Grease your little bearing. Slide it back on there. Yeah, slide that back on there. And your drum goes back on. Your sprocket goes back on. We hope. There we go. Sprocket goes back on. Little washer goes back on. And then I've got to put the E-clip back on. And let's see if I can get a picture of that. Yeah, there we go. Got to daub the grease off my fingers. And I like the system they had just fine. And I would say don't do this in the woods. You're going to lose your E-clip. And see, it doesn't want to go on there. Anyway, we had a perfectly good system. I guess maybe it cost too much for them to do that. That does not want to go back on there. And see, that's why we always went with Husqvarna instead of Stihl, because of that crankshaft situation. And I always thought, well, that's a little bit silly of me. There, we got it. Okay, what I did, I stuck the needle nose in the end of the crank, got on that. E-clip's back on. That thing is greased, ready to put it back together. Anyway, don't neglect that. You should grease that. You know, the book tells you how often to grease it. I like to grease that for after every major outing. So do not neglect that bearing, because that bearing is not working when you're cutting, but when it's idling, anytime the chain is not running and the engine's running, that bearing is spinning inside that drum. So And I put wheel bearing grease on there. I think you can use any grease. I put wheel bearing grease on there. It clings good. So anyway, thank you very much for checking in. Catch you all later.